And then we can open it up to questions, or if you don't have any, I'll get some questions started. So I am doing a wilderness fellowship at SUNY Upstate, and the only jobs I applied for were fellowship and academic.
Hi, I'm Guy Carmelli, first time. If you guys don't know, I'm going to be staying as education fellow next year. I applied pretty broadly to education fellowships, SIM fellowships, and also just academic positions.
Hi, I'm Hassel. I'm staying here at County, well, across the street at County, and I looked at a few places but only applied to County for internal medicine and emergency medicine.
You.
Yeah, that was my plan.
I am going to UCLA Harbor in California for ultrasound fellowship. And I'm doing a master's in health policy and management, which they're paying for. And I applied to ultrasound fellowships and international fellowships because, as usual, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Okay. I only applied for fellowship as well as community jobs. I knew I wanted to do so yeah, I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't actually go to any job interviews. So I'm doing international fellowship in San Francisco at Stanford. And I'm going to get, well, I'm trying not to, but they're also paying for me to do a master's at UC Berkeley, which I kind of
Do people have questions they want to start with, that they're curious about?
For those of you, for those of you who I guess applied to both fellowship and just straight academic jobs or community jobs, was that like were you really just feeling it out and then like kind of looking to both, and was that an issue that came up like during your interviews for one, they asked maybe that you were also interested or applying to this whole other spectrum of jobs?
Yeah, well, so I applied for both, like I said. I guess specifically the only reason I applied for community was because I didn't want to go straight into an academic place right after if I was going to work, because I wanted to do my own things if I ended up working. So the only place I interviewed at was Lutheran, mostly because they know us. And when you apply for fellowship, you apply so early that like I knew where I was going by November 8th. So even applying for jobs that early, like most people are just you're just sending out your resume and things like that. So at Lutheran, they did ask me, and it was, what's his name, I forget. Yeah. So, it was sort of felt like a early interview where he was just asking me to see how I was feeling. We kind of even practiced my fellowship interview skills, and then he gave me tips on that. So, I don't think that was like a real interview, but they did ask me, and then when I found out where I was going to fellowship, I did get back and let him know. So I think that was kind of a unique scenario. If you're going to another place, I don't know if I would have told him that I was applying for fellowship.
I applied for multiple fellowships, which is kind of weird, but I told them during the interviews, like, this is why I did this, because I'm interested in doing ultrasound internationally, so that's why I applied to both, and this is what I think I can get from one or the other, and I'm trying to get from you guys during my interview which one's going to be the better route for me and where's the best spot for me. And they were like, oh, that's reasonable, you have a good reason, and they were fine with it, and were happy that I was honest. They said it's really weird if they like find out that you're like secretly doing two different things. But I mean, it's emergency medicine, everyone's like super normal and understands, and you just explain things to them.
In general, I felt like the whole vibe of interview season was completely different than prior experiences. So I feel like applying to med school, applying to residency, you kind of just are a yes person, just want whatever you guys want. I'm like down, and you're like begging them to take you. This is a completely different vibe. Like I felt like it was completely opposite. They were more on the begging, wanting me at their place, and like telling me how great their program is and all this stuff. Very, very minimal questions like pimping or really about me or what's your biggest weakness, I didn't get like any of those. So like they're very open to stuff like, oh, what they really want somebody who will love it there. Like they don't want to like somebody who will be unhappy. So she's like very open about like, these are my interests, I'm considering this and stuff. They'll more likely like be welcoming of that and even try to say why their program may fit those things. So it was just like I didn't worry as much about like them being critical of what I'm doing.
talking to you guys about like what shifts you're gonna be working, night shifts, weekend shifts, like money wise, like any of that kind of stuff, like early on, or like how's that?
I mean, they told us don't like ask that on the first time, and on the second meeting you can get it. But most of the academic stuff is like cookie cutter. So like it was pretty much easy across the board. I'm applying for an academic position that's whatever 32 hours for this base salary, and I didn't have to ask Jacoby and New York Press and Bellevue and here because I kind of understood that. So in academic wise, like they did. Yeah, it was like not like.
Both places tell you too. It's not
Yeah.
like a secret. Like
Yeah.
it's either when they publish the job in a journal, they'll say, or during your first interview, they'll say, "This is what I'm looking for. This is how many hours I want. This is what you're expected to do." But most of them will just tell you straight out. You don't have to ask.
Yeah, for fellowship, I mean, it's standard at most
Yeah.
places. But then, like, Bonnie's doing community, but she's also doing the admin. So she went in and told them, like, I want to work this many clinical, I forget what it was, like 28 clinical hours or something, and I want less than 28
It's like
clinical
24,
hours.
22 or something.
And
like
I
that.
want all this protected admin and to get the full salary. And they were like, okay, sure. So I don't know. A lot of it is telling them what you want to do, which is nice.
You can ask.
Yeah.
You
You
can
guys
ask.
are
I think
awesome for
that's-
ads. Ask for more than they're giving.
Yeah.
You guys are in a strong bargaining position. I mean, faculty are short in the world, so you guys can ask for almost anything you want. The worst thing to do is say no, meet you in the middle.
Yeah, I thought it was unique that our program was the one who needed people, but a lot of places were also changing and needed faculty. I don't know if it was just my year, but my year I felt like heavily wanted and recruited after for academic position.
I mean, you also kind of have to remember you have like locums people stalking you, like the community aspect, like not even just locums, like the hospitals themselves be sending you emails. So you have so many opportunities to look at whatever you want, and it's like, you know, just so many options of things to think about. I think that's kind of why I applied for 2 and then I'd be like, I can't do everything, and just quit.
Like, no joke, I made the biggest mistake, and I beg you third years not to make this mistake. At ASEP, they give out free stuff. Free iPads, free whatever. And I don't know, just because I'm greedy, I said yes to it all. And then I gave out my phone number to everyone. No joke. I get like 10 calls a day. 10 calls a day. Leaving me messages. Hi, this is so-and-so from Locums, whatever. Emails. I hate it. I don't answer my phone anymore. Like, I want to change my number. It's
Actually, I have the same thing.
terrible.
I get so many emails, so many.
Don't do it. The iPad's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Dear God.
CCT's number, and I have to put the
84616.
Yeah.
No, no, no.
4616.
That's my biggest advice for the year. Like, if you want one locums company, choose them and give them your number, but don't give them everyone.
A word about ASEP though, if you want to do fellowships, especially, well, I think for all your jobs, if you don't want to work in New York, ASEP is a fantastic time to set up interviews. I did like 13 interviews while I was at ASEP.
Yeah.
And all the like department heads are there, and they have multiple people in the faculty that are there, so they'll do multiple interviews with you, and you can get it all taken care of in that short period of time, so you're not like traveling back and forth and having to go out all these random weekends. And then like Dan didn't know what he wanted to do, and he went to like the job fair there, and Gore is like the schmoozer of all schmoozers, and he's like introducing him to all these people, so he actually set up a bunch of interviews while he was at ASEP.
Bring CVs to ASEP.
Yeah, you just bring your CVs, definitely.
These are done by ASEP.
Yeah, exactly. It's super important because it's a great place to get job interviews and to knock out all your interviews if you want to do fellowship.
And I think in Dan's case too, he had a geographic region he knew he wanted to go to. So I actually was walking around with him, like he'd stop at every locums company and everything else and ask what they had in that region to sort of broaden his knowledge about what was available to him and what he was interested in.
Yeah. And he set up all his interviews in 1 week out in Colorado. And one place agreed to fly him out there, so he flew out there for free, interviewed at 3 or 4 places, and flew back for free. So you can work the whole thing very nicely.
I mean, I also say don't be afraid to ask for different things. I never went to any of the places I interviewed online. So I did Skype interviews I only did 2 fellowship interviews, and I did Skype interviews. I was a little nervous to ask because I was in Ghana when it happened, so Dr. Smith said, just ask them, and I did, and it was okay. So both of them set up their interview days to accommodate me.
And do you guys do locums interviews or?
There's no real interviews for that. You just
I
go
don't
in
know
your.
the process for
The locums people were working a lot of, we do a lot of
So,
Ask
Um,
Jan and Brandon, they're both doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
and Nico.
So I'm doing some part-time locums that I've already set up, and you didn't have to interview. Like they contact you, you send out they ask you for your resume, you send it to them, and then you kind of talk to a recruiter. The recruiter kind of finds you places like a bunch of hospitals, and then sends you all these specs, and you look at what you think you're interested in. So I'm only going to be very few shifts a month, 8 shifts a month. So I figured, I could set up, 1 or 2 a month that could be set for me. So my recruiter just kind of looked in the region where I would be working, and said, okay, there's like these kinds of hospitals. This is what they like. Which one do you like? And I just look at it, contact people that I knew who have some. Joyce Wang is at one of the hospitals. Like I called people that I knew had worked at the places and just heard what they thought. Then you just tell the recruiter which one you want, and then they just start sending you the paperwork and you do it. There's no interview. There was a phone interview with the actual hospital after I decided I wanted them. And pretty much that's it. Like they're locums, they really just want you to come to work.
It doesn't take too long, so this isn't something you have to worry about on November or something. It could be like after January. It takes like 2 months or something, and then they start putting you, and they just offer you a bunch of options. Like if you work 9 shifts, I'll give you a starting bonus of $10,000. But if you can only commit to 4 shifts, then we won't give you a starting bonus, we'll guarantee this. And if you only want per diem, then we can't offer you this, but we can pay for your license, whatever. And they'll just like talk to you about options, and you find out which hospital you want. And they're usually very like, whatever you can do, I want you, kind of thing, because they need people.
Certain states, though, the license takes longer, so you should start earlier. Like,
California can take up to 6 months, because I know a lot of people think about California. New York takes about 5 to 6 weeks, and most states I feel like take about 2 months maybe, would be a safe bet. So 3rd years, you should be starting on your CV now. Just start the template now, start to fill out whatever you can now, and you can always fill in more and tidy it up later. And start to apply for your license soon, just so you can get it out of the way, you can have it done, and you won't have to worry about waiting for some of these things later on for credentialing.
Assuming you know the location.
Assuming you know what location you're going to. If you don't know the location, put it off, it doesn't matter.
I would say if you're staying in New York and they really do only take 5 or 6 weeks,
Yeah.
you have to renew your license every 2 years. So like, don't get it if you're not gonna use it. Like that's just wasted money.
Unless they're paying.
Yeah. So I mean, I would wait and see those things out. Same with the DEA, it's every 3 years. So if you're not working locums and need it in your 4th year, that takes like 3 days to get, literally. I would put it off, even if someone else is paying for it. You might as well get more bang out of it when you're done.
The rule is you have to work in double coverage and you have to be in good standing in residency. And I think that's the only rules we have. So you're allowed to do it in your 4th year, you just have to meet that requirement.
But
Really,
it's
not
a
that easy.
harder
I went
requirement.
to, like 3 different places and they said, yeah, you'll always work with a board certified.
They kept promising me. I tried 3 different places. It took me like 8 months.
Yeah.
And but then they're like, you know how even UHB, sometimes it's just one attending covering all 3 occasionally, or like 1 attending and then like a peds attending. Like even at UHB, it's hard to guarantee that. So pretty much most places, they couldn't guarantee it, and I kept.
I would call their chairs and make them give me a guarantee and none of them would.
So finally, I got Woodhall, and I've been working shifts at Woodhall, and that has always been.
That's not through a company that would pay for.
No, I just-
license stuff, right?
No, I pay for it.
But you're in a strong position to bargain because everybody needs shifts. Everybody's slow right now. So if they want you to work there, say I'll only do it if you pay for my license, and that's a strong bargain from your side.
You know, they didn't pay for my license, but I got this kind of starting bonus of like
If you get $1,000 starting bonus.
I was like, oh, okay.
It's the
So
same thing.
the license is only like, I mean, it seems like I'm still broke, but the license is only $700 something, up to like $1,000.
Yeah, so if you're paid by county, if you have any of your CIR money left, you can pay for your licenses, you can pay for whatever.
I have paid
Your DEA, well, DEA was
So I don't know,
think
I would just be reluctant to just sell my soul because of like $800.
I know.
Yeah, so be careful, the locums companies will do it for you, but they'll book you in another way. So I chose to just pay for it so that I could just say no to things when I didn't want to do it and not feel pressured, so it's up to them.
But also realize that $800 is like half a shift of locals. You shouldn't be that worried about it, because if you work one shift, you've already made that money back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's-
Don't get so hung
It
up
seems
on
like a
that.
nice bonus,
It's not
but
that
it's
big
it's
of a
like a
deal.
really tiny, like, little thing that makes it seem like.
But like she said, if you're not gonna do shifts, it took me till April to start doing shifts at Woodhall. Like, if you're not gonna do shifts during fourth year, then you don't need it like right now. Because then it's 800 resident dollars. And 800 resident dollars is a lot more than locums attending dollars. So back to like kind of what he was talking about timeline. I completely agree. Like starting the CV early and giving it to all of your mentors and all of the people that you look up to. I gave my CV to everyone just to get feedback. And then fellowship-wise, I just started looking end of August, September to send out initial emails. And it's not like before where there's like a website and you apply. It's really just an email to the program director.
Ultrasound and International both have websites where you apply to like 15 programs at the same time.
Oh, so yeah, for education.
Yeah.
For education. And I just had people that I knew. For me, I only applied fellowships in California and academic jobs here. And so I had people that I knew, graduates, Nikita Joshi at Stanford, like Andy Groff, USC, through Alium, Michelle Lynn helped me with UCSF. I knew people at San Diego. I just had them. I like told them I was interested, and they kind of helped me send emails to the program director. And then around like September and stuff, we're talking and want to set up interviews. And I set up all my interviews at ASAP. So I also had 8 interviews at ASAP. Never had to go to California once. The academic jobs and stuff were later. Like I started meeting and talking to people at ASAP. And then I got back October, November, December. I started looking at academic jobs and interviewing with them. And then I think local was even later. So that's like a kind of idea for a timeline.
When it comes to fellowship, just I would say this summer or whenever now, look at the individual websites of where you're interested for the timelines. So I had looked up a couple of what I was interested in. I kind of had in my head by October 1 or something, I need to make sure I've reached out to these programs. Whereas I think ultrasound stuff starts earlier than that, right?
I don't remember. It's on the website. I don't know. It doesn't
Years
matter.
ago, going into academic or fellowship, was there something that made you lean more towards that, something that you didn't like about like the community aspect? Or is it because you just wanted to go into the fellowship?
I mean, I wanted a community job, so the fellowship is really what kind of brought me back. But I think after fellowship, I'll probably go into community. Mostly, I said probably after fellowship, I would go into community. I just wanted to be straight out of residency to go to a place where I could work by myself. So that's what was interesting. That's why I think I ended up now in an academic setting because of the fellowship. But if it wasn't for the fellowship, I would have applied strictly for community, I think, initially, and then maybe transition later on.
I just wanted to gain like a very specific skill set, so that's why I was doing the fellowship. But now that I am, I'm kind of glad because I get to try out academics because it's not ACG, ultrasound's not ACGME, right? So you get to you get to be an ED attending at an academic facility. So you get to I'll get to try that out and see if I like it. Make some contacts.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to decide what you really want. Some people love the idea of, I was in residency, I want to go out by myself in a little community place and just put myself out there on my own, just like get all my skills built up, and then maybe I'll go back to academics, or maybe I won't. But for me, I wanted to stay with a residency program. I really want to be a part of a training program. I feel like that's how I can make a better difference, other than just me working, I guess. And that's why I was only considering academic places, and I figured why not stay at the best residency, so that's why I stayed.
So yeah, that's an important question. Why fellowship versus like not fellowship? And that was something I was torn with for a while. I definitely had friends who did the locums route, and I'm a little bit jealous because they're making almost $500,000 and they're traveling like every month. But what they're not doing is they're not talking to residents ever and barely talk to PAs, and they're doing no advancement in curricular development or anything like that. And I think that if one day you wanted some sort of leadership position at an academic institution, whether it be APD, PD, whether it be clerkship director, whether it be some sort of admin, it's harder just straight out from a community job or something. And so some sort of academic experience is helpful. So what does the fellowship in education kind of offer me? I think that the certificate itself is kind of meaningless. It's really protected time. That's the valuable thing. So while all my counterparts are doing a lot of shifts, which is like up close to like 40 hours of shifts or whatever, it's hard to then go home and then try to publish and then try to create, a curriculum and try to teach and show up to conferences and stuff like that. And so what a fellowship gives you is they say you only work half time, close to like 20 hours or whatever, and the other time is called protected time. And that's where they encourage you to start to pursue a niche or something. And so whether it's in ultrasound or whether it's in anything, it's really the protected time where you go and you make a name for yourself. And I could have done that just taking an academic position somewhere, but I'd have to fight for the protected time hours. So they start you off at like 34, 32 or whatever, and then they say start working and volunteer for stuff. And I'd be like, okay, I'll do, clerkship this, or I'll do resident education this. And they don't pay you for that. You just give them your time. And after a year or two, they say, wow, you've really committed. Okay, we'll reduce your hours by 2. And then after another year or two, we'll reduce your hours by 2. And it's just like, it's possible to kind of work your way into something, but it'd be harder for me to publish and harder for me to like really, because I'll just be working more. But you'll be getting more money than a fellowship. So it's kind of like, it's up to you how much time you want to work and commit on your off time to doing your passions versus you just get 2 years to SANO, 2 years to do international, 2 years to do research, and then you'll move on from there.
I'd say I was a little all over the shop when I started the process. Like James can vouch, a year ago this time I was pretty adamant I wasn't doing fellowship. And I'll put out there, I have a lot of personal life factors that went into my decision of what I was going to do and where. As everyone I think knows, my husband's still a resident here next year. So that was a big factor in all of my decision making and started narrowing it down in different ways. My fellowship choices were going to be limited to what I could do either in New York or in reasonable proximity to New York. And thinking about jobs too, I was thinking from a mentality of like, I'm only really going to commit a year to anyone wherever I'm going, which isn't my favorite position to be going to various jobs, like more academic jobs from, but thinking eventually I want an academic position. I was also at the beginning probably a little confused and, probably still am, but you gotta love what you picked and what you got. Of whether at the end of the day I will love academics or I won't. And my community experience is 2 months at Lutheran in residency, but it's not what it's like as an attending, and nor is my academic experience right now what it's like as an attending, and I'm not really sure how that will all play out. So I sort of started applying for fellowships, applying for an academic job. I was a little bit lazy, so I did those things first and hadn't gotten to community yet to figure that out because I had more time. And as I went along, I liked and got excited about some of the things that I found and thought they were things that I'd be really happy doing. And so I sort of ended my search there when opportunities became available. And I applied both to education and to wilderness and to one sort of hybridized.
Overall, it's not like an end-all be-all decision right now. You could at any time do locums. Like, locums is always there. So let's say you choose an academic job somewhere and you try it for 9 months, 9 months and you're like, I hate this so much. You can like tell them, oh, I only want to be here another 2 months or whatever, and then like apply locums. It's not like a forever decision. it is pretty hard if you go straight to locums and then say, you know what, I want to do an ultrasound fellowship. That's something that people typically don't do. So like, I don't know, whenever I applied to places, they were like, you know, it's a big decision, but not really. It's like it's a reversible decision. So
I just have to say that you leave an academic job after 9 months, you burned a lot of
Yeah, you
bridges.
can't do that. That's ruining your career for community board.
You can do it.
I don't know, we hired a bunch of
Have to
locums
make a
people.
decision before you take the job. You can't be like 2 months in, peace. Because it's a yearly cycle for recruitment. That means that you wasted a life that they can't then recruit for another year. So you're probably gonna stay there for at least a year, but then you can leave.
I meant 9 months in, you realize you're not into it, and then you start like
And then a year later.
It's not like picking a 4-year resume.
It's a small community, even as it's getting bigger, and people do remember. And I do get calls from people that were 15, 16 years ago. What did you think? I mean, I don't have no idea what's happened to them in 16 years, but that's what they were like when I taught them here. So it's not that, you know, I mean, you gotta be nice. As Dr. Bernsheimer says, you gotta be nice. You know, you gotta think about this is, unless you wanna change careers, which is not very.
The 2-week notice in medicine is a year. You have to prep, say, this is what's happening, you know, in my life, I'm thinking about it. It's about a year notice.
But if you're obsessed with doing locums, you can do that, right? There's a lot of people here who work part-time here and do locums. For my fellowship, they were like, yeah, if you want to do locums, you can do that. If you want to pick up extra shifts here, I only have to do 8 shifts a month, so I'm like not even working next year. So there's a lot of free time to pick up whatever I want to do.
That's not what we were talking about.
Right, no, I'm just adding in. Yep. Yeah.
Did any of you use any sort of contract review services, or for instance, one that's offered by CIR, to go through your contract and make sure that everything is tidy and what you want?
Well, I didn't take a community job, so I kind of didn't have to. But I think if you're going to take a private job, or like most of the fellowships are pretty, like he was saying, cookie cutter. There's not that much to look over. But if you're taking a community job where you have no idea, I know Ajala used it. She had 3 different community jobs, and she just had them look at the contracts, and it's free, so she used it. She used the CIR, and she thought it was helpful. She ended up picking the one they didn't recommend because she liked other things that they were offering, like on a personal level. But I think, you know, it's free, so use it. I didn't though.
It's also very important if you're joining a practice. And this one also says as a former community job, it's less important to break contract. You are definitely you want to make sure they are not that. So you have to build
Heat clauses.
Definitely read it though, even for fellowship, even though it's like cookie cutter, you don't have as much room to negotiate, you should definitely know what you're getting into and how things are done, how your liability is done. What someone verbally tells you in terms of what you'll be working versus what's written in your contract or what's written in there for mandatory overtime. They might not change your decision, but you should be informed.
Did any of you guys use the application company that holds all your stuff?
ERAS or whatever?
FS,
Yeah, FCBS or whatever.
yeah. So I started using it. I put all of my information.
Are you guys
in
familiar
there.
with what this is?
FCBS?
Oh,
You pay a company a certain amount, and they hold everything: your step scores, your all your school information and stuff. And whenever you need it, they have it.
Basically, you pay like a couple $100s or so, and they go collect all the documents that you're supposed to collect. So they do it for you. But
they
to
do like
keep doing
credentials.
it, it's a regular fee.
Yeah.
It's not a one-time.
So it's
No.
like $150, $100 and something fee that you every time you apply to somewhere, or 50 something, which it depends. So if you're applying to, I started setting it up early on, like around this time last year, because then I was kind of confused about what I wanted to do. I was just kind of all over the place. So if you're applying to multiple places, then I think it would make sense, like maybe at least 5+. But if you know you're only applying to like 3 or 4 jobs and then maybe 2 fellowships, definitely not worth it, because the amount of time it takes you to walk to go, because you still have to go and talk to the dean, go get the actual signatures and send the stuff to FCBS. So at least if you're applying to one place, you can just do it yourself. But if you're going to 8 different places, FCPS will, you just do it once and then they keep it for you and then they just disperse it as needed. Kind of like ERAS, I think, had something like that when we applied to med school. You just click and then they send it to a new place, click and you just pay a fee. So it just depends. I think it's only worth it if you're applying to
Do you send any of that though to jobs or just for license application?
So it's
That's
anything.
for
You can do
anything, yeah.
it's for jobs.
You can do it for jobs, you
For
can
like
do it
for
for
credentialing and
licenses.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It just takes care of the whole getting your medical school diploma, sending out your STEP scores. But all that stuff is very easy to do on your own. You don't have to keep going back to your medical school multiple times to get them to send out
The
your
advice
diplomas.
I once got from a locums person at some fair when asking about this was if you're a US graduate, it's probably not worth it. If you're an international graduate, it's probably very worth it because the certification that goes in to every application for an international graduate is much more extensive than if you went to US medical school, you're basically getting Stephanie to send something each time and your medical school to certify and send something. But if you went to an international school, there's a lot more that has to be certified with all of your rotations and other things about your school. That's a many more step process. So repeating that each time is much more laborious and maybe worth your while.
I agree with that, but it is not just Stephanie and the dean's office. It is a lot more than that, but it's still simple for you. And you should keep track of everything.
Yeah.
Because within a year or so, you're going to be going to a different institution. But it's actually your recommenders, right? It's your program director, it's your procedure. It's actually a pretty huge packet. But you can keep track of that yourself. You don't need anyone else to do that.
Yeah, just keep it in one folder and
It's
then
one folder, and I would
Just be
scan it,
organized.
and people use it,
it's fine.
and you can keep it for yourself.
Scan document folder.
That's what mine's called.
Mine too. Great minds think alike.
It's called credentialing.
And by the way, credentialing happens every 2 years at the institution you go to. So this is not a one-time thing. This is every
If
year.
you're affiliated with 2 places,
Online stuff, employee health. So definitely
Pretty
have
used
to
to that.
keep it packet.
Your credential. Your credential.
Are there other questions?
I would just have one more thing, because there's a lot of fellowship talk and timeline. This is probably more for the PGY2s. ACGME fellowship, the timeline starts a little earlier. So if you're thinking about one of those, just be aware, because I don't think, none of your guys' fellowships are ACGME, right? Adam's doing, working on one now, right? So that'll be right. So that's something that you might want to think about earlier. So the ACGME off the top of my head would be like TOCS, informatics,
Critical
E
care.
hyperbarics, EMS.
Crit care.
They keep saying it's
So for those, just, you have to think about it a little bit.
They don't ask you for your board scores after you're board certified though. So pass your boards.
and once you're board certified, they just assume
They won't ask you for your MCAT scores.
Oh, one more thing. I guess from each of you, if you could just say like your most important word of advice for us going forward.
With getting a job.
Yes. With regard to the job.
I'd say take the time to think about what you really want. You can eliminate a lot of bullshit if you think about what you really want in advance and kind of are true to yourself. If you don't know, you don't know, and you can spread yourself out a lot. But if you take enough time in advance to figure out what you want and really think about it and look at it and research it, you can go into what you really want very focused and get it done with a little bit less pain.
I think for me, starting off was the toughest part, and that's the scariest. Like before I got interviews and stuff, like just making that first leap or step. So I spent so long I'm sure all of you guys know how many times I sent you my CV because I'm like, I don't want to start the process until my CV is perfect, and I just focused on it. And finally, they were like, "Your CV is fine." Just like start, and like so that was my nitpicky. But all I did was then I started to just email people, and then it was like a floodgate, and then like everything started happening from there. And like it was not as daunting and scary as I thought. Like reach out to the people you know, you're not at it alone. Like reach out to all these people, like previous grads, like I said, and they're welcoming. They love Kings County. They'll be like, oh, let me set you up, and then the wheels started rolling, and then everything just happened pretty easy. So the first step is scary, but then it's easy.
Mine would be just don't limit yourself, because I think for the most part, if you don't apply for whatever it is you want, you're not going to get it. Dr. Smith kind of, was one of I was thinking about it, and I kept thinking over and over and over and just not doing it. And Dr. Smith was like, just do it. What do you lose from just doing it? And I did, and I got a really good spot. So don't limit yourself, because you won't get it if you don't apply.
Don't be scared. You're going to get a job. Everybody wants us. It's crazy. Like, I was like, okay, Kings County, yeah, we're probably okay. Everyone, like, our program directors tell us we're the best and whatever. But that's actually like a reputation that we have throughout the country. And people are like, oh, you're Kings County. Everyone knows, there's 1 billion grads. Everyone knows Kings County. We really do have a good reputation. And when you're interviewing, it becomes very evident, like, people really do want you. So like they were saying, do the job, apply for what you want, because you'll get it. Like, it's not hard to get a job. Like, you're all gonna get jobs, and you're all gonna get the job that you want. So don't worry.
I think mine would be like, for the third years, you've done the work. It's all there. You're qualified, you're desirable. Like I usually, when I hate making my CV because then I have to look at it and then I sit there thinking about all the other things that could be on it. But you've done it. You've all done a lot of work here. We're a fairly academic program that requires a lot of us, as well as I think the culture around here is people get involved and we do things. For those who are first or second years, you're doing the work now. Like it's gonna be done when you get there. Keep participating in the things you like doing. Don't kill yourself over some stuff that you really don't like doing. And just have confidence in that, appreciate that. Don't fear that you're lacking.
Keep track of the work you're doing.
That is important though.
Oh yeah, put everything on your CV.
Update your CV as soon as something else happens, and it will always be updated.
And I might say, make your CV in month and year format, because that's what all the jobs eventually want when they hire you. Everything that my credentialing and my job all required in month-year format, which I had to go back and put months and think about that.
Yeah, I need a new one.
You can email any of us at any time, and I'm sure we'll all be
There's
glad to send you what we have.
There's a double AMC template that's pretty good. I will say I had a little trouble using it because I already had pretty well templated mine, but if you're starting from scratch without a template, I'd recommend that one, but I'm also happy to send.
The hard stuff is like, oh, how do I write this blog, or how do I write this podcast, or how do I write this media thing that I submitted, or like I presented an abstract, and then just looking at ours and seeing how we did our poster presentation or our whatever, that was the most helpful. So yeah, email any of us.
Congratulations. Thank you.